I'm Marley, and when I was 15, my world turned upside down in ways I never saw coming. Growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, my life looked pretty normal from the outside. We lived in a cozy brick house in a leafy suburb, the kind where neighbors wave and kids ride bikes until the streetlights flicker on. My family seemed like the picture of Southern charm. My dad, a hardworking guy who always had a calculator in hand, my mom, who loved hosting dinner parties, and my little sister, Talia, 7 years younger and full of giggles, always begging me to draw her favorite animals. But beneath the surface, things were far from perfect. My grandma was the real force in our family. She started with a single dry cleaning shop in Atlanta's West End, scrubbing clothes by hand to make ends meet. Over decades, she turned that hustle into Greenwave Solutions, a multi-million-dollar company making eco-friendly cleaning products that flew off shelves across the Southeast. Grandma was tough but kind, with a laugh that could fill a room and a knack for spotting potential. She always told me, "Marley, you've got a spark. Build something with it." I'd blush and nod, sketching house designs in my notebook, dreaming of becoming an architect. But at home, things were unraveling. My dad managed Greenwave Solutions, diving into spreadsheets and supply chains. But my mom never let him forget it was her family's company. One evening, I was sprawled on my bed, sketching a treehouse for Talia, when their voices exploded downstairs. "You're nothing without my mother's business, Greg," my mom shouted, her words sharp as glass. "This house, this life, it's mine. You should be grateful I let you touch it." I froze, pencil hovering over the page. My dad's voice was quieter, strained. "I'm doing my best, Kelly. Why is that never enough?" Talia crept into my room, her big brown eyes wide. "Why are they fighting again, Marley?" she whispered. I pulled her close, forcing a smile. "Just grown-up stuff. Sophomore, want to help me color this?" But inside, my stomach churned. I hated how Mom made Dad feel small, like he was borrowing her life instead of living his own. Things got worse over the next few weeks. The house felt like a pressure cooker, every dinner silent except for the clink of forks. My mom barely looked at my dad, and when she did, her eyes were cold, like she was sizing him up and finding him lacking. I tried to keep Talia distracted, taking her to the park or teaching her to sketch puppies, but even she could sense the storm brewing. At 7, she was too young to understand, but old enough to feel the weight. I'd catch her staring out the window, clutching her stuffed rabbit, and my heart would ache. I wanted to protect her, to keep her world bright, but I was just a kid myself, caught in the crossfire of my parents' crumbling marriage. One afternoon, I came home from school, my backpack heavy with algebra homework, and found my dad in the living room, a suitcase at his feet. My heart stopped. "Dad," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He turned, his face pale, eyes red. He crossed the room in 2 strides and pulled me into a hug so tight I could feel his heartbeat. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," he said, his voice breaking. "I can't stay here anymore. It's not good for any of us." I pushed back, panic rising. What about Talia? What about me? My voice cracked, and I hated how small I sounded. He cupped my face, tears spilling down his cheeks. "I love you both more than anything. Never forget that. But sometimes love isn't enough." He knelt by Talia, who was watching from the couch, her little hands twisting her rabbit's ears. "Be good for your big sister, okay, Peanut?" he said, hugging her. Then he grabbed his suitcase and walked out, the door clicking shut like a gunshot. I stood there, frozen, as the emptiness settled in. When my mom got home later, I told her Dad had left. She didn't even flinch. "Good riddance," she muttered, tossing her purse on the counter. I stared at her, disbelief burning in my chest. "How can you say that?" I asked. She turned, her eyes like ice. "Your father cheated on me, Marley. Over and over. I couldn't take it anymore." Her words hit like a slap. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I was too stunned. That night, I lay in bed, hearing my mom on the phone in her room, laughing like nothing had happened.
Who was she talking to?
I didn't know, and I was too tired to care. All I knew was that my family was broken, and I had no idea how to fix it. Just when I thought the ground couldn't crack any further, my mom dropped another bomb. One morning, as Talia and I munched on cereal at the kitchen table, she breezed in, all smiles. "I have news," she said, her voice light, like she was announcing a new pair of shoes. "I'm getting married." I nearly choked, milk dribbling down my chin.
What?
I managed. Talia's spoon froze midair. "Mom, Dad's only been gone a few months." She waved her hand, like I'd mentioned a bad haircut. "Sometimes, true love comes when you least expect it, Marley. You'll understand one day." 2 weeks later, Victor moved into our Atlanta house. He was tall, with a slick smile and a Miami tan that screamed, "I'm trying too hard." People might have called him charming, but something about him felt off, like a song just out of tune. He made a big show of being nice to Talia, playing board games with her, and helping with her math homework, which she loved. But with me, it was different. He barely looked my way, and when he did, it was like I was a piece of furniture he hadn't decided where to place. I tried to shake it off, focusing on school and my sketches, but the feeling of being invisible in my own home grew heavier every day. Things started changing at Greenwave Solutions, too. After Dad left, Mom took over the company, and she brought Victor along like he was her new right hand. They'd spend hours at the dining table, talking about expansion and new markets, their voices full of excitement. I'd overhear bits and pieces, plans for fancier packaging, bigger ad campaigns, but it all sounded like Victor's ideas, not Mom's. She hung on his every word, laughing at his jokes, while I faded into the background. I tried to stay busy with friends and art club, sketching designs for houses I'd build someday, but it was hard to ignore the sinking feeling that my family was slipping away. Then came the day that really shook me. One evening, Mom called me and Talia into the living room. Victor was there, leaning against the couch, looking smug. "We're moving," Mom announced, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "To Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a new branch of Greenwave opening, and it's a huge opportunity." My heart sank. A new city? New school? I glanced at Talia, who looked as confused as I felt. "What about us?" I asked, my voice tight. Mom's smile didn't waver. "Well, Marley, we've talked it over, and it's best if you stay here. The new house won't have much space, and you're almost done with high school. Switching schools now would mess up your exams." I couldn't believe it. "So, what? I'm supposed to live on the street?" I snapped, my hands shaking. Mom rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. You'll stay with your grandmother. She's already agreed." My throat tightened, tears prickling my eyes. I looked at Talia, who was clutching her stuffed rabbit, her lip trembling. "I don't want to leave Marley," she whispered. I wanted to hug her, to promise it'd be okay, but I was too angry. I stormed to my room, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. Lying on my bed, I stared at the ceiling, hot tears streaming down my face. When had I become a burden to my own mother? Was I just in the way of her shiny new life with Victor? The next few weeks were a blur of packing boxes and forced smiles. Talia cried every night, begging to stay with her friends, her school, me. I helped her pack her stuffed animals and books, trying to keep her spirits up. "Will you visit Marley?" she asked one night, her voice small. I hugged her tight, my heart breaking. "Of course, sophomore. You can't get rid of me that easily." But inside, I was terrified. The day they left, I stood on the porch with Grandma, watching the moving van pull away. Mom gave me a quick, stiff hug, and Victor offered a curt nod, like I was an acquaintance he'd already forgotten. Talia clung to me until Mom pulled her away, and as the van disappeared, I felt like a piece of me went with it. Living with Grandma wasn't what I expected. Her house, a cozy bungalow on the edge of Atlanta, smelled like lavender and old books. She gave me space to sulk, but was always there with a mug of sweet tea when I needed to vent. "You're stronger than you know, Marley," she'd say, her eyes warm but firm. I'd nod, but deep down, I wasn't so sure. Without Talia's laughter or Dad's quiet presence, the house felt too still. I missed my family, even the broken version of it. But as the weeks passed, I started to settle in, sketching in Grandma's garden and finding comfort in her stories about building Greenwave from nothing. Still, I couldn't shake the ache of being left behind, like a piece of luggage Mom didn't have room for. Time slipped by, and before I knew it, I was staring down my 20th birthday. I woke up that morning feeling hollow, like the day was just another box to check off. I should have been excited. New decade, new possibilities, but all I could think about was the family I'd lost. Mom called, her voice syrupy sweet. Happy birthday, Marley. I'm so sorry we can't be there. Work's insane right now. We'll celebrate when we visit, okay? I mumbled, sure, knowing full well they hadn't visited once since moving to Charlotte. The call left a bitter taste, but Grandma had other plans. She turned the day around, inviting my friends over, ordering my favorite barbecue ribs, and baking a lopsided chocolate cake that tasted like love. For a few hours, surrounded by laughter and music, I almost forgot the hole in my chest. The next morning, Grandma called me into her home office, a small room lined with books and old photos of her first dry cleaning shop. Her face was serious, and my stomach nodded.
Was she sick?
Was she sending me away? Sit down, Marley, she said, pointing to a chair across from her desk. I sank into it, bracing myself. Then she smiled, a glint in her eyes, and slid a folder across the table. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Open it. My hands trembled as I flipped it open, and when I saw the papers inside, my breath caught. Grandma, is this? She nodded, her smile widening. Greenwave Solutions is yours now, Marley. The whole company. I see something special in you. Smarts, heart, grit. You're the one to carry it forward. I stared at the documents, my mind spinning. Me, barely 20, owning a multi-million-dollar company? It felt like a dream, or maybe a prank. But Mom and Victor, they're running it. I stammered. Grandma's expression tightened. They're running a branch in Charlotte. The heart of Greenwave, the main company, that's yours. They don't get a say anymore. My head was buzzing. This wasn't just a gift. It was a lifeline, a chance to matter again.
But it was also terrifying.
What did I know about running a company? I was still figuring out how to balance my checkbook. Grandma leaned forward, her voice steady. There's one more thing, Marley. Call your dad. There's more to his story than you know. Hear him out, even if it's just as a consultant for the company. My heart clenched. I hadn't spoken to Dad in years, not since he walked out. The idea of calling him felt like stepping onto a frozen lake, one wrong move, and I'd fall through. But Grandma's eyes held mine, full of trust, and I nodded. I'll try, I whispered. It took me a week to work up the nerve. I finally dialed his number, my hands shaking, and we agreed to meet at a little coffee shop in downtown Atlanta. When I saw him walk in, my chest tightened. He looked older, lines etched deeper around his eyes, but when he spotted me, his face lit up like I was the only person in the room. We sat, awkward at first, sipping coffee in silence. Then it all poured out. The divorce, Mom's remarriage, the move, Grandma's gift. He listened, his face a mix of pain and pride. When I finished, he took a deep breath. Marley, there's something you need to know about why I left. He told me everything. How Mom belittled him for years, calling him worthless, making him feel like an outsider in her family's business. One night, after a brutal fight, he got drunk and made a mistake. He cheated just once and regretted it instantly. But Mom used it like a weapon, threatening to drag him through court, to take me and Talia away, to ruin him. I left because I thought it'd protect you both, he said, his voice heavy. I didn't want you caught in a war. She demanded alimony, the house, everything. I thought walking away was the only way. I sat there, stunned. This wasn't the story Mom told. My dad wasn't a villain. He was human, broken by her cruelty. Why didn't you fight? I asked, my voice barely audible. He looked at me, eyes soft. Because of you and Talia. I wanted you to have peace, not a courtroom circus. As we talked, something shifted. The anger I'd carried for years started to crack, replaced by a fragile hope. Before we left, I took a deep breath. Dad, would you help me with Greenwave? As a consultant, maybe? His smile was like sunlight breaking through clouds. I'd love that, Marley. For the first time in forever, I felt like I had a piece of my dad back, not the perfect father I'd imagined as a kid, but a real one, ready to stand by me. The months after Grandma's gift were a whirlwind. I was juggling college applications and studying for exams, all while trying to wrap my head around owning Greenwave Solutions. Dad started helping, sending me emails with tips on managing finances and suppliers, his advice steady and practical. It felt good to have him in my corner, but the weight of the company was still overwhelming. I'd lie awake at night, sketching in my notebook to calm my nerves, wondering if I was in over my head. Then came the day everything exploded. It was a warm Atlanta evening, and Grandma and I were celebrating my college acceptance, a full-ride scholarship to study architecture with a business minor at Georgia Tech. We were halfway through a feast of takeout fried chicken and sparkling cider when the doorbell rang. Grandma frowned, not expecting anyone. I'll get it, I said, setting down my fork. When I opened the door, my stomach dropped. There stood Mom and Victor, looking like they'd just stepped out of a business meeting, all polished suits and fake smiles. Before I could say a word, they brushed past me into the house. "Mother, we need to talk about the company," Mom said, not even glancing my way. "Why can't we access the main accounts? And what's this about blocking funds to the Charlotte branch?" Grandma's face was like stone. She stood, folding her arms. "It's not your decision anymore, Kelly. Greenwave belongs to Marley now. She decides its future and its finances." The room went quiet, the air thick with tension. Mom's eyes flicked to me, wide with shock, then narrowed. Victor's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent, his gaze calculating. Mom's whole demeanor shifted, like she'd flipped a switch. "Marley, sweetheart," she said, her voice dripping with honey. "I've missed you so much. Why don't you come live with us in Charlotte? We have a gorgeous house, a room just for you. We could set up a desk, get you a new laptop for school and work." I blinked, caught off guard. Was she serious? After years of treating me like an afterthought? I stepped back as she reached for my arm. "No, Mom," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'm happy here. I've got my friends, my school, and Grandma needs me." Her smile faltered, but she recovered fast. "Well, if that's the issue, we could move back to Atlanta. Live in our old house, just like before. Wouldn't that be nice?" I shook my head, my chest tight with years of hurt. "It's not about the house, Mom. It's about everything." Her eyes flashed with anger, but before she could snap, I asked the question that had been burning inside me. "Why did you really divorce Dad?" She froze, her face paling. "Your father cheated on me, Marley. Multiple times. I got tired of it. He left us, didn't even pay alimony." "That's not true," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "Dad told me everything. It was one time, after years of you tearing him down. You kicked him out, and he's been paying alimony this whole time." Mom's face twisted, rage breaking through her mask. "How dare you, you ungrateful little." Grandma stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. "That's enough, Kelly. You've forgotten a few things. This house, the company, they're mine, not yours. I gave Greenwave to Marley because I trust her, not you. It's time for you to leave." I watched, heart pounding, as Grandma ushered Mom and Victor out. The door clicked shut, and I sank onto the couch, a mix of sadness and relief washing over me. Mom's words stung, but they didn't break me. For the first time, I felt like I was standing on solid ground, not just drifting in her shadow. Grandma sat beside me, squeezing my hand. "You did good, Marley," she said softly. I nodded, tears prickling my eyes. I'd lost the mom I thought I had, but I'd gained something else, a sense of who I was and what I could do. That night, as I lay in bed, I sketched a new design. Not a house, but a Greenwave office, modern and open, a place where I could build something real. I wasn't just a kid anymore. I was Marley, owner of Greenwave Solutions, and I was ready to fight for my future. The morning after Mom and Victor's confrontation, I woke to voices downstairs. Curious, I tiptoed to the living room and saw Dad sitting with Grandma, their faces serious but warm. I joined them, and Grandma got straight to the point. "I've been thinking about Talia," she said. "Your mom's not in the best place to care for her right now. I've told your dad he should seek custody." My heart leapt. "Really, Dad? Are you going to?" He ran a hand through his hair, looking nervous but resolute. "Yeah, Marley. It won't be easy, but Talia deserves better." I threw my arms around him, tears stinging my eyes. "Thank you, Dad." Grandma wasn't done. "There's more," she said, her voice firm. "I hired a private investigator to look into your mom and Victor." A few weeks later, she called us back, her face grim as she laid out the report. It was worse than I'd imagined. Mom had been cheating on Dad for years, long before their divorce, with Victor. Hotel receipts, lavish gifts, it was all there. But the real gut punch was Victor.
"He's a con man," Grandma said.
"He's done this before, charms rich women, moves their money, then disappears." I felt sick, thinking of Talia living with him. Grandma nodded at my expression.
"Exactly.
He was planning to siphon Greenwave's funds and vanish. We set a meeting with Mom the next day. She arrived at Grandma's house, looking annoyed, her heels clicking impatiently. When she saw Dad, her eyes narrowed. Grandma didn't waste time, laying out the evidence. Victor's criminal past, Mom's affair, their plan to steal from Greenwave. With each fact, I watched Mom's face, hoping for some remorse, but all I saw was denial. "This is nonsense," she snapped. "Victor loves me. You're all just jealous." Dad tried to reason with her. "Kelly, think about Talia. Is this the man you want around her?" But Mom wouldn't hear it. "You're trying to ruin me," she shouted, storming out, the door slamming behind her. The next few months were a storm of legal battles. Dad filed for custody of Talia, and I insisted on being at the hearing. Mom's lawyer painted Dad as an absent father, but ours was ready, showing his alimony payments, his attempts to stay in touch, and his stable life now. Then came the bombshell, the investigators' report on Victor's fraud and Mom's affair. Mom's face crumpled as the truth hit the courtroom. When the judge awarded Dad full custody of Talia, I felt relief flood through me, but also a pang of sadness. Mom looked lost, standing alone as we left with Talia in Dad's arms. She hissed, "This isn't over," but Grandma shut her down. "Yes, it is, Kelly. Go home." Things unraveled fast for Mom after that. The judge ordered her to pay child support to Dad, a twist she hadn't seen coming. Then Victor vanished, taking a chunk of her personal savings with him. One evening, Dad called me, his voice tense. "Your mom showed up today, begging to reconcile, saying she made a mistake." My heart tightened, a flicker of old hope sparking, but I knew better. "What did you say?" I asked. "I told her no," he said firmly. "That ship sailed. I won't put you or Talia through that again." I smiled, relief washing over me. "Good. We deserve better, Dad." Life settled into a new rhythm. I threw myself into college at Georgia Tech, diving into architecture classes and a business minor, determined to make Grandma proud. Dad helped run Greenwave, teaching me the ropes, while Talia, now 12, filled our weekends with her chatter and hugs. Every Sunday, I drive to Dad's new place in Atlanta, where Talia would tackle me with a squeal, and Dad would have dinner ready, usually his slightly burned mac and cheese. Those moments, laughing around the table, became my anchor. Thursdays were for Grandma's, where her roast chicken and apple pie filled the house with warmth. "I always knew you had it in you, Marley," she'd say, squeezing my hand on her porch. As graduation neared, I felt both thrilled and nervous. Dad was running Greenwave smoothly, preparing me to take over fully. One evening, he smiled and said, "I'm ready to hand over the reins whenever you are." I hugged him, whispering, "Thank you, Dad, for everything." Life wasn't perfect. There were still challenges, decisions to make, a company to run, but with Dad, Talia, and Grandma by my side, I knew we could face anything. Looking back, I think about Mom alone now after all her schemes. Part of me feels a twinge of pity, but mostly I feel justice. She made her choices, and now she's living with them. As for me, I've got a family that loves me, a company to lead, and a future I'm building, brick by brick, just like the houses I sketch. It's not the life I pictured, but standing here, I realize it's mine, and it's real. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through heartbreak, betrayal, and hard-won victories. If my story hit home, hit that subscribe button and join us, where every challenge is a chance to build something stronger, something true. Keep carving your own path, and I'll meet you at the finish line.